Last there, just take it up to the departure end of the runway, then a left turn and a left downwind. Cessna over the threshold, coming up on the white dot, at or beyond the white dot, left turn first available. I got a high wind coming up on about a half-mile final, clear to land at or beyond. Traffic on the left face, you're following a Cessna down, low off your left. Square it up just a little bit, and then we're going to get you in. Start your descent, though. Start your descent on the base. Traffic on final, give me follow on base. Base traffic, start turning toward the numbers now. High wing coming up on quarter-mile final, take it all the way down to the green. Cessna taxiing on the green, expedite down to the next hard surface. Get me some speed, there you go, 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 go fast. This is going to be good. I got traffic on a mile final. You're following traffic ahead and to your right. High wing coming up on the threshold. Take it all the way down to the green dot.
5 Charlie Sierra, 2 mile final.
A mile final, turn north, and we're going to just make you, we're going to bring you back around. Jet traffic's coming up on about a mile and a half final. Runway 9 clear to land.
Okay, all right, let's listen up, guys. If you're on final for runway 9, I want you to offset to the left. I got a jet that's landing on runway 9. The jet's cleared to land runway 9 if you can make it. If not, just continue straight ahead. It looks like you're going around for the jet. That's fine, that's fine, that's fine.
Oh, we had one right in front of us, sir.
Dragger. Let's see, what we got, a tricycle. Tricycle, put it down. Tricycle, put it down. Tricycle, put it down. Tail dragger, down to the green dot, then a left turn. Short final here, you cleared land on 9, all the way to the white dot, go down to the white dot. Find somebody to follow out here. Kennard, just come to the runway and I might have to just send you around. That'll be fine. And for the jet, you just want to stay in this pattern or you want to go back out for an instrument approach?
Stay in a pattern, Charlie Sierra.
All right, just stay with me here for a minute. And my tail dragger, let's see, over the numbers, go down to the green. And Kennard's going to have to go around. Kennard, go around. Kennard, go around. Kennard, go around. And my high wing here over the runway, keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. You do not descend. Do not descend. You got a fast guy behind you. Do not descend. There you go. Keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. As soon as the guy behind you gets slowed down, I'm going to put you down. So keep it airborne. The one that just passed the white dot, make a left turn on the hard surface. All right, my high wing tail dragger, you can put it down now. You can put it down now. And Charlie Sierra, let me get you about a mile off. Let's see, Charlie Sierra, I lost. There you are. Make a left-hand turn. I'll try to resequence you here on the downwinds. We'll see how it looks. Short final, you're clear to land runway 9 on the white dot. Clear to land on the white dot. There you go. And the tricycle left on the hard surface and follow the flagman. Welcome. Thanks for being part of the show. And let's see, just find somebody to follow out follow on the final. And as you get close to the runway, if it's not going to work, we're going to send you around and then try to resequence you. Now, who else got sent around that's not back on the downwind? The Kennard?
Yeah, Kennard.
All right, Kennard, there's a Gulfstream up there that went around too. I just lost sight of him, but you're going to make kind of a left-hand turn and stay low. I think Charlie Sierra, what's your altitude?
3,200.
Okay, that'll be fine. Just maintain VFR. I don't know what else is up there above you. Probably most everybody's down here, so just make a left-hand turn. We'll try to get you back here.
Kennard's got the jet in sight.
Okay, the RV, maybe an RV-10, whatever, you're on final. Keep your speed up and go all the way down to the, aim for the green dot for me. Actually, keep your speed up. There's a guy behind you. Aim for the green dot, and I'm sure that's plenty of room for you to land on runway 9. You're clear to land on runway 9. Number 2, you're going to go down to the white dot. Follow the white dot. Actually, you know what? That's 1,500 feet. You're going to land at the white dot. The spacing looks adequate here. 2 guys on final. You're kind of tight there. Keep each other in sight, and you're going to aim for the white dot. If it's not going to work, we'll come up with a plan B. We might have to send you around. The second guy behind you out there in about a 2-mile final. Are you slow enough to be able to follow that guy in front of you? You need to go around. Well, I probably shouldn't ask that because I had about 5 guys answer me, so I should know better than that after 35 years, you would think, right? All right, so let me see. The guy who's number 1, it's number 1. What kind of airplane is he? An RV type. All right, RV type. Keep it airborne for me. Keep it airborne. And I got a fast guy behind you. The number 2 guy over the trees there. Go ahead and put it down on the numbers. Put it down on the numbers. My first guy just coming up on the numbers at the over the grass at the numbers. I want you to keep it.
T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Hello.
Four, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome to the Thursday night live stream. We've got a fantastic show for you tonight. We've got a whole bunch of news. We've got some great Sky Demon tips and weather. Plus, we have got Kate West sitting in the green room waiting for us. Kate will be on at about 5 to 8. I know some of you people who joined specifically for the guest, you don't want to hear us wibbling about stuff. You just have, that's kind of like the entry ticket. You have to pay that for 25 minutes. So, and then jump in the comments and go, when's Kate coming? When's Kate coming? When's Kate coming on? When's Kate coming on? Yeah, she'll be on later. We can see her waiting in the green room, as it were, already. So second, I guess that would be. Secondly, I have to say a huge thank you to Sky Demon for sponsoring the live stream. Thank you very much, Sky Demon. Much appreciated. We couldn't do it without you, as I say. If you haven't tried Sky Demon, get out and try it. I'm pretty sure everybody has, but if not, they've got a 30-day free trial. Here is your weekly Sky Demon tip from the irreplaceable Rob.
Hi, I'm Rob from Sky Demon, and here's another top tip.
You may not be aware of this, but with Sky Demon you can have easy access to all AIP documents, not just those associated with a particular airfield. In the Airfields tab, look up at the top for National AIPs, choose your country, and then search in the sections for the document you're looking for. If you don't know the chapter number you're looking for, you can search for a title in the search bar, like so.
For more information, check out our website or our user manual from within the app.
Blimey.
There you go.
That is useful.
It is useful. As much as the AIP is like the world's most boring document, it does actually contain huge amounts of useful information that's well worth looking at from time to time. And if you came along to our members webinar on how to fly in Germany on Tuesday, once we eventually got it going at 7:30, apologies for that again, you'll know that the German AIP, for once, has very recently, I think in the last week or so, been made publicly available and free of charge online. So you can get that. Unfortunately, it's not in a format that you can import it into Sky Demon. It's the only one. The Germans are a little bit difficult like that. But there is moves that they might bring it around. So German AIP available free online. Okay, Simon is not around this week and he sounds very much like somebody else, but nonetheless, apologies in advance for the quality of the sound recording. There's a few bits and pieces that nothing to do with us. It was a video we got sent. But anyway, here's a whole bunch of weather for you, and it's looking pretty good.
Hi all, this is Alexi Veneris here with your Flying Week Ahead Outlook, brought to you in association with Weather School. Now we've got a bit of a change on the way, but before that we're going to continue with these cold temperatures, snow showers of course across northern and western areas. Mild temperatures are going to start pushing through onto western regions as we head through the next couple of days, through the weekend, into early next week, though the south and the east is looking like it might stay really rather chilly, perhaps even still quite frosty for some too. But with this sort of change of weather pattern brings a bit more in the way of cloud, patchy rain trying to push in for a time before higher pressure wants to pull in, but that's going to also give us a mist and fog. So let's take a look at the days going ahead. Starting with Thursday, well, we've got this sort of continuing northwesterly wind flow, where basically we're going to continue with these particularly cold conditions, frosty starts as well, so do remember that. We've got an area of lower pressure just over the northern North Sea here, and that's got associated occluded fronts that's going to be pushing in persistent snowfall across northern parts of Scotland in particular, particularly across over that higher ground too. But also, on this usual northwesterly flow, we get the usual places seeing those snow showers pushing in, particularly across northern and western parts of Wales. Through the Cheshire Gap as well, likely see those snow showers. And all these locations where the snow showers will bring down that cloud cover too, of course. Also over northern parts of Northern Ireland, northwestern parts of Ireland as well. But away from this, that's what we've been getting the last number of days. We've got dry conditions, some clear air and really quite good visibility out there, some well-broken cloud, and those cloud bases, well above 2,000 to 3,000 feet. So, most places are looking quite good, but cold, just bear that in mind. Now, pushing ahead to Friday's weather, we actually get a bit of a ridge of higher pressure trying to pull in. So, again, a lot of the day is going to be dry. We'll see some well-broken cloud out there. So, bases, again, above 2,000 to 3,000 feet. But we do have a little bit of a a front out across the Atlantic, pushing in, and that's going to start shaking up the conditions somewhat more. So this is pushing through to Ireland, Northern Ireland, bringing down those cloud bases through here. Also across parts of southwestern parts of England, possibly into sort of parts of western Wales too, where there's a bit more of that cloud cover coming through. Could see a bit of patchy rain associated with that as well. But the further east you are, and centrally, of course, we're going to have a pretty decent day, pretty good conditions. But still staying for the majority of us really rather cold with frosty starts. Now, heading through into the weekend, we then start to pick up a bit more of a southwesterly wind flow. You can see that here as those Atlantic associated fronts try to push in. That's going to bring down those cloud bases slightly more. And in places across Ireland, Northern Ireland, could be as low as around 500 to 1,000 feet. With the cloud base. So it's, it will be lower across western areas, northwestern areas of Scotland too, where there will be a bit more of a brisk wind pushing through too. But across many places through the UK, so southern, central Scotland, Wales, and much of England, we're looking at really much slacker pressure gradients. So lighter winds. There is the risk of some mist and fog patches, which again will lower that cloud base through there, of course, too. But away from these, we are going to have dry and fine conditions, some good visibility, good sunshine in there too as well. So coming up, but we'll stay really quite cold and chilly around through England and Wales for the most part, likely to see frosty starts too. Pushing on to Sunday, reasonably similar in the sense that it is further north and further west where we'll see the higher prospect of the cloud, the patchy bits and pieces of rain. And on these fronts, so across Ireland in particular, could be seeing more persistent rainfall, particularly through the cold front through here. So a lot more in the way of lower cloud through these parts here, likely to be around 500 feet, maybe 1,000 feet, so poorer visibility through these parts. But away from this and through many parts of England, eastern parts of Scotland, and much of Wales are looking to be once again in a slacker pressure flow. So dry conditions, but lighter winds, which would lead to mist and fog patches again, likely to develop a bit more, and that will obviously lower those cloud bases. But away from that, dry and bright conditions, clear air, good visibility. Moving on then to the start of the new working week, it does look like those fronts want to push a little bit more across the country. You can see that there. So more in the way of northern western parts of England, whole of Wales, southwestern parts of England too. We're likely to see more in the way of that cloud base dropping. Now, the best of the cloud base where we should see above 2,000, 3,000 feet will be across sort of southeastern parts of England, some eastern parts of England, but the further closer those fronts will be getting, it's likely we'll see quite a lot of these regions to be having low clouds and some patchy rain, drizzle around places too, likely for quite a lot of variable cloud across parts of Scotland as well. But milder conditions for the majority of us. And then just having a quick look at Tuesday, again, we're sort of within a bit more of a southwesterly wind flow. So there is going to be just more in the way of cloud cover about, quite low cloud cover for many places across England into Wales. We're looking at, cloud bases as low as 500 feet to 1,000 feet in some places. The best of conditions probably still across sort of southeastern areas, but we could see actually some mist and fog patches developing through here. So even there, we could see low cloud bases too. And a brisker wind, of course, the further north you go as well. If you're out and about, though, this week and weekends, then do take care. That is your Flying Week Ahead Outlook, brought to you in association with Weather School.
There you go. A bit longer than usual, but a bit. I guess we probably didn't really need Thursday, did we? But there you go. That's just the way it is. Quick, before we move on, there was a question from Matt Lanham in the comments asking whether the German. Oh, look at that! We're recording. Spot on. Come on, sharp. If you remember, there is a recording up there already. Just use the link that we send you in the email. Basically, there's a whole load of these webinars coming up over the year. In February, we've got Darren Lewington talking about ATC. We're kind of anyway. There's going to be a whole load of them, and if you remember, you can watch them either live and interact or afterwards and on catch up. So yeah, there you go. Right, time to
one a month, isn't it?
There is one a month, and I think actually I was talking to Sarah today about that, and we are pretty much full, I think, for the rest of the year at the moment. But there's a couple of other people. There was some people asking for Ricardo to see if Ricardo would give us one on flying in Italy. I don't know if Sarah's managed to speak to him or not yet, or Ricardo. I don't know if you're looking. are watching, but we're hoping to squeeze Ricardo in as a bonus, how to fly in Italy. So, which would be good.
Good.
Can I go and interview Ricardo in somewhere like Bologna?
You can do that on Zoom.
It's my favourite Italian city.
You can interview him wherever you like, as long as you're on Zoom in your house. That's just the way it works.
Vince Chadwick says, "Where has Johnny parked his Spitfire?" Nice guy.
I've got a tiny one above my head. There you go.
Thinking about our guest later, if you look far enough in advance, you might find a good fare on easyJet. So, right. Anyway, right. That's enough of that. Let's get on to some news. Dave.
Oh, news. Right. Okay. So, first of all, I have to talk about the compilation that Flyer produces every 4 weeks. It's a PDF, basically, containing all the latest articles. It's available to download by Flyer Club members to read offline, should you want to. This time they include Andy Torkington's remarkable story of getting back to flying after a heart operation. There's Annabelle Cook's Ace Your RT feature, so how to get better at radio telephony. There's a review of the Lightspeed Delta Zulu headset, and there are columns from the titans of GA. I'm talking about Ed Bellamy, Rachel Ramsey, plus there's Ian and myself, and much more, of course. So switching to the actual news, the first story is about Little Munjum, pronounced Munjum. Remember, this is an airfield in Kent near Deal. They want to open a farm strip-based airfield there. It's been rejected by the local council, Dover District Council, on noise grounds. That was last October. An appeal has been taken up by the General Aviation Awareness Council, GAAC, and they're sort of putting that in to try and get it overturned. If you ever wondered what the GAAC does, it helps in specialising airfields to survive, and importantly, it's been recognised by the Department for Transport as the association to deal with on airfields. They've just launched a fundraising appeal, and there is a link which somebody will hopefully put in the comments. To basically just everybody there. It's a not-for-profit organisation. Nobody does it for the money, but they've got some extremely competent people who are advising airfields on how to fight problems with whatever. Let's remember, this is not another Gatwick at Little Munjum. It's a simple farm strip with some very beneficial and environmentally sound ideas.
And the GAC are much more efficient at fighting for airfields than they are at launching fundraising campaigns.
I'm not going to say any more there because I have to deal with the guys there, and I don't want to upset them.
I'm not. I'm just the Fox News, the facts, just the facts.
It is true. Yes.
Right, talking to the facts, there's a quick story from me now. The Civil Aviation, not the Civil Aviation Authority, the Department for Transport has extended the deadline for its calling for evidence on the effectiveness and efficiency of the Civil Aviation Authority. And they've launched a consultation, and that is now open until the 29th of January at 11:45 p.m. So you need to jump online, go and fill in the questions. There's about 50 questions, although some of them are easy, like what's your name and what's your email address, but they do get harder. And you don't have to answer them all. Now, it's being the DFT, there's like a huge URL, and it's just too huge to put in the comments because it's ridiculous. So I've put it in the about thing in the description under this video. So if you go and look at that on YouTube, you'll find the link and you can click it there, or just type into Google. Yeah, it's the story, isn't it? That's the story. You can go to the story, and there'll be a link in the story. But anyway, go and have your say. Tell the DFT how efficient you think the Civil Aviation Authority is. Which is clearly very efficient. Ed,
there's a drone plan around. So the UK drone industry, as if we needed more plans, the UK drone industry has published its own white paper demanding a national strategy on drone technology. Have they not noticed that there's been a whole bunch of things going on? The white paper, called A National Strategy for Drones Across Land, Sea and Air, was submitted to government by the Drone Delivery Group. Try not to use my doom-sounding voice for them. A group of 400 leading industry experts, commentators and stakeholders. It's interesting that none of us heard about this before it was. Anyway, drones. They say drones have created a paradigm shift, which requires an evolution in the way the UK regulates in this area to avoid stifling an opportunity for UK PLC. I love it when people use UK PLC. Which could force the majority of drone business overseas. I don't think that's really true, is it? Says Robert Garbett of Drone Delivery Group. We're calling on the UK government to lay the foundations for our industry to flourish, and in doing so, lead the world in this remarkable technology. So they've set out their strategy, and apparently they're saying that PwC have revised its forecast for the economic benefit of drone technology, estimating at 45 billion in contributions and 22 billion in net savings to UK PLC. There's that one again. By 2030. So surprisingly, the white paper is light on details on how drones could be integrated into UK airspace. Although it does say drone superhighways will be impossible without joined up standards and regulations in the UK across domains, land, sea and air. Chaps, try reading up on some of the other things that have been going on.
I've got two questions on that. The first question is, in amongst all those 400 people, just two, I wonder who the GA stakeholders are. Are there any GA stakeholders?
I don't remember anyone being. Maybe they'll surprise. Maybe someone from the drone delivery group is watching this and going, "How very unfair! Our study and white paper consulted with lots of people."
And I'd like to see PwC's working out, as my maths teacher used to say, show me your workings to find that 21 billion contribution. Show me the sums you did. Anyway, right, Johnny.
Yeah, so the red arrow, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Come in, number one.
You got me. I think my Wi-Fi might be having a bit of a moment. So next story, red arrows, they've got a new commanding officer. So Wing Commander David Montenegro has passed over the baton to Adam Collins, who's taken over. Adam Collins was Red 10, the commentator for about 3 or 4 seasons, I think. And he's now, obviously, they've had a bit of a funny year. The entire RAF has had a bad year. Let's just get that out there. They've had a bad year. The Red Arrows for their own reasons, the RAF wider for other reasons. But this handover is planned. It's the end of a normal exchange. So yeah, 2 very happy men there. But yeah, it's time. You know, it's a new chapter for the Red Arrows, I think, and probably a new chapter for the RAF. A new year, chance to do things better.
Yeah, so that's David Montenegro on the left,
yes,
and the new chap on the right. So just anyone in the comments wants to suggest, we reckon this is worthy of a caption competition, given what's been going on there. So leave your caption suggestions in the comments, and we might talk about them later if it's not going to end up with us in prison or something.
I'll stop us if we're going down that route.
Thank you so much. Jonathan Holland said, "It looks like Goose and Mav."
That's a polite one.
That's a polite one. Let's move on very quickly. So the next story is about Bodmin Airfield. Quick disclosure: this is my nearest airfield, and it's in Cornwall, so it must be wonderful. At Bodmin, the airfield manager, Jay Gates, reports that 2022, despite the multiple challenges, that it was actually a very good year for them. The movements are up, and they're nearly back to 2019 pre-COVID levels. The training hours are actually higher, and that's been prompted by an increase in what they call flight experiences, which have encouraged some younger people to take up flying. And the amount of fuel in litres has also been being sold has been higher, despite the higher prices. And probably most important for anybody who's ever been to Bodmin by road, there's a new road on the way in. Previously, my Land Rover was probably the only vehicle that could get through, but it's all looking good there.
Good.
Yeah.
Good on Bodmin. Ed.
Yes. Some rare fighters are to be recovered from the seabed, and not just a few feet. We're talking 10,000 feet down. So this is a project to recover 4 World War II historically significant American aircraft from the bottom of the Pacific. There's, I think, 3 Douglas TBD-1 Devastator torpedo bombers, of which there are none in existence apart from on the bottom of the ocean. And Grumman F4, F3 Wildcat. They were lost when the USS Lexington, an aircraft carrier, was scuttled during the Battle of the Coral Sea in 1942. The wreck was discovered in 2018 by a team funded by the late Paul Allen, who founded Microsoft, was one of the joint founders. The Grumman Hellcat is particularly significant because it had been flown by Lieutenant Edward Butch O'Hare, who had Chicago's main airport named after him. And so a recovery group, A&T Recovery, have put together a paper on recovering the aircraft. They've got some history in doing this, as they've recovered 40 aircraft from Lake Michigan, slightly less deep, a lot less deep, and obviously freshwater. But they've been very successful in that, and they've highlighted the fact that this is it's not a war grave or anything. The ship was scuttled. I don't think anyone died, and the aircraft were on the flight deck at the time when the ship went down, floated off when it sank. And so it'll be an interesting challenge. They've been talking to people at the RAF Museum, because obviously RAF Museum salvaged an ME-110 from the South Coast beach. And that was significant in that it was really, really fragile, had been exposed to loads of saltwater degradation over the years, and had to be stabilized, because you can't just pull these things out of water and expect them not to just crumble into dust. So anyway, so lots of research being done. It'd be interesting to see if something happens on that. Wouldn't that be amazing? But just, they've been out of the daylight, out of the oxygen for so long. They're in, apart from obviously having fallen off a ship and fallen 10,000 feet to the seafloor, in quite good condition.
Yeah, a bit of an oil change. Right.
Paul Fraser Bennison says, magnet fishing?
Yeah,
when does the interview start?
Like we said at the beginning, the interview starts shortly, probably in about 4 minutes, I would have thought. But we'll carry on.
8:55. Don't say that, John. Chef will be annoyed.
Right, Johnny.
So Invector Aircraft is a new agent for them in the UK. So that's things like the EV97 and the Sportstar. The new agent is Airmasters, who are based in Northamptonshire. They are already the distributor for flight design aircraft, and they're an approved Rotax engineering outfit. So the previous distributor was Roger Cornwell, who ran Ascent Industries, and he's kind of semi-retiring and still focusing on the Eurofox. But he's found in Gary Masters at Airmasters someone to take over and support the fleet in the country. So good news there. Airmasters, they're waiting on their CA approval for authorization to supply, I think it's spare, genuine and warranted parts to the UK fleet of EV97s and Sportstars. So good.
Cool. Good. Right, we got one more, Chef. We got one more story to go, and it'll be a quick one, but it's kind of almost commercial aviation. So hang on in there. Dave.
Yes. This is the story that today, literally today, Zero Avia made the first flight of its Dornier DO228, which is the biggest aircraft so far to fly with a hydrogen electric fuel cell propulsion unit. It flew with one of its propulsion units on one wing, and on the other side it had its normal Honeywell turboprop engine, but it flew for 10 minutes from Kemble. This is the first flight of a brand new sort of concept. The idea is what Zero Avia are trying to do is produce a power unit that can eventually be replacing the traditional internal combustion engines on some small regional airliners. Got to start somewhere, and they're doing this with the Dornier because it's used in sort of a 19-seat airliner. That's where they see the market initially. Hopefully later on they think they can scale up to bigger aircraft. But it's a British first, proving but we must be the best place in the world for general aviation.
Should we have a quick? We got a 30-second video. Do you want to see a 30-second video of it?
Go for it.
Do. It's very
there
quiet.
It is. taxiing out. I know. Happily, they supplied it music free.
So this still has a turbine on one side.
Yep.
Oh, it appears to be venting something. And as
Wow.
NASA say, venting not always good.
I reckon this video has been sped up.
Sped up.
It is. I feel like we should have some Benny Hill music here.
I could have put some Benny Hill music on. Yeah, it's definitely sped up. But this is that's at the speed it was supplied to us. And just talking about that venting, I actually I noticed that earlier, and I cut out a quick 5-second clip and tried to enlarge it as much as I could without it getting too fuzzy. And here you go.
Wow.
Actually, if you look at that again, look, check out the rudder.
Well,
oh
yeah.
Right.
Well, maybe
huge
maybe our guests could shed some light on that.
You never know. It must be time to talk to Kate. Let's just bring in Kate here. Hello, Kate. I just need to move you around a little bit just to.
Oh,
there you go. That's
oh
better.
wow! Hello.
Kate West. Kate West is the training manager for pilot development at easyJet, and more accurately, Kate West MBE, no less, is an MBE for, depending on which particular report you read, for becoming the youngest female commercial pilot in the world, commercial captain, I should say, of a commercial jet in the world. I'm sure you'll be able to tell us a little bit more about that. Just hang on a second. I've got to get my appropriate interview. Get some pieces on.
Oh no, I feel underdressed. I didn't wear mine.
Oh no, I don't really deserve these either, but they got sent to me ages ago. I don't actually own. Well, I do own them, I suppose, because they were sent to me. But I didn't go out and buy them. Is what I'm trying to say. Right. Let's kick off with a question to you, Kate. How did you get interested in flying? What was the kind of take it right back to the beginning? When did the idea first occur to you, and how did you end up going from there to the easyJet cockpit?
Well, I think it started with my godfather. He used to take me to air shows when I was little. So seeing the red arrows, as you mentioned them earlier, it's I think any young child that sees the red arrows, it's just an incredible sort of moment. And sort of from there, joined the Air Cadets when I was 13. Flew the Grob Tutor with them. So considered the military actually, but when I finished school in 2008, it wasn't a great time for the military, downsizing and not taking on pilots as regularly. So it was actually a military friend of mine that spoke to me about CTC and all the options that there were in commercial aviation. So I was doing a bit of GA at the time. So about 15 years ago, I was flying out of Carlisle Airport and applying for any scholarship that I possibly could, and then going to CTC. So 14 years ago, on my 19th birthday, I flew off to New Zealand to start my commercial pilot training with CTC. So doing all of my ATPL exams. I flew a couple of 100 hours out there in single engine and twin engine aircraft, and then came back to the UK, started my simulator phase, and then I was into the realms of the Airbus A320 with easyJet. So that's a short summary of my aviation career.
And were you one of those, I'm not sure what they called it back then, were you one of those cadets who were destined for easyJet before you started your training, or were you a kind of whitetail as they're known, that had to kind of like got to the end of the training and thought, right, I better see if I can find a job?
Absolutely, yes. So I was a whitetail cadet, so I didn't know where I was going to be going. There were a few people that were tagged to an airline at the start, but I was a whitetail. So actually towards the end of my training, I remember very vividly a conversation with my dad. I was saying, like, what am I going to do? But he just told me to relax, don't worry about it, it'll be fine, and it all worked out. So wise words from Dad.
I remember talking to a student at a graduation ceremony somewhere, and his parents turned around and said, yes, he'd assured us all along that the job was guaranteed and he had a job, and so we funded it. And it was not until he actually got his job offer that he told us that wasn't actually the case, and he didn't have a job, but he was lucky enough to find one.
Oh,
so they were
very confident.
They were quite, it was very, very confident, and they were quite relieved. So I guess so back at school, I mean, was there any other career you considered, or was it just that?
Yes, so many actually. So my family sort of come from a medical background, so I actually considered joining the Air Force as a a medical officer, a dental officer, but I actually realised I'm quite squeamish, so that was never going to work. So then I started looking into engineering. I applied to university to do an engineering degree, actually, but yeah, I think in the end I just thought, no, I want to be in the flight deck. So
okay, so just what are you doing right now? What's your not right this second, clearly. What's your role right now?
So my role now. So I spent a couple of years as a first officer, then became a captain, and then worked my way into the training department. So I became a line trainer, and then simulator instructor. So I'm now a type rating instructor in the sim. But more recently, last year, I became one of the training managers. So training manager, pilot development does sound like a very glamorous role. It doesn't mean I develop all pilots, although I do try. Every trainee that I have, I do try to help them. But I look after the NPL program for easyJet. So we have an NPL program linked to CAE. So I manage that, and also the training first officers. So we're very keen to develop our future, and I'm sure some of our training first officers will become our next training managers. So I work with them to sort of develop them, professional development for the training first officers, which is very rewarding.
Okay, so take us back. I think we've got a picture here somewhere of you as a kind of as a first officer. I'll find it here somewhere in a second. If anyone out there, like Chef, is not familiar with the way we do things, it's generally not as slick as it could be. There you go.
Very well so far.
There you go. So talk us through this picture. What stage? Where were you in your career at that point?
So this was my first day flying the Airbus. So obviously you do base training the first ever time you fly the aircraft, but this was the first day I flew with passengers on board. So I'd only flown the aircraft once before I had passengers. That was my base training. And then when I had passengers, I flew down to Valencia with a very experienced training captain next to me, I might add, and also a safety pilot on the jump seat just to keep an eye on things as well. So yes, that was my first day, and I had an opportunity for a photo as well. So it's one of those days you're going to remember for the rest of your life. I do remember it vividly. So yeah, it was fantastic.
And how did your first day go?
Say again, sorry?
How did your first day go?
The training captain took over on my landing because he wasn't convinced that it was going to be safe. But we've moved on from there. So again, as I say, I'll remember it forever. It was a good day.
Excellent. So your time from, let me take these off because they're distracting me. your time from that first day to getting on a captain's course at easyJet, what was that? 5 years, was it? 4 and a bit, 5 years?
From my first, about 5 years. Yeah, I think that's about the minimum you can do it in, really. And if you think about hour building and the number of hours you have to do, we probably average about 700 hours a year. So by the time I built up the hours and experience, it was just about 5 years to become a captain. Yeah.
And how was the captain's course?
The command course is really thorough, as you would expect, and there's a lot of steps to go through before you actually get onto the course itself. So you have to do assessment, interviews, that kind of thing, and then the course itself, it's very thorough. Lots of simulators, lots of ground school sessions. Where you sort of learn more the commercial side of and the responsibilities of becoming a commander. And then also, again, some line training as well, where you've got a very experienced training captain next to you, again, supporting you as you develop into that captain role.
So presumably part of that is you playing the role of captain and your first officer in a simulator, obviously, trying to do silly things that first officers might do due to inexperience and seeing if you spot those along the way.
Well, it's not so much that, but it's looking at things that may go wrong in the aeroplane. The simulators are so fantastic now. The tools that we have to use in the simulators is just incredible. So yeah, working through managing situations as they unfold in the simulator and working through problem solving and decision making in that sense.
And during that whole training phase, were you kind of sitting there going, hang on a second, when I become a captain, I'm going to be like the youngest woman in the world to be a captain on a Airbus or any commercial jet? Was that kind of weighing heavily on your shoulders, or?
No, I didn't even know. It was one of those things that it just came about. That obviously, paperwork is done whilst you're going through training, and it was one of the training support team that noticed my date of birth, and they were shocked. They thought it must have been a mistake because I'm born in 1990, and they said, "This is a first. Are you sure this is right?" Yeah, that's how it all came about. So I didn't know at all whilst I was doing the course.
So, and then the world found out.
Yes. So it just so happened that my command coincided with easyJet promoting women in aviation a little bit more. And as a result of that, I worked together with the PR team to try and encourage more young women to look at aviation as a career. So they used my story to promote that to young people and sort of encourage them to sort of look at aviation as an option for them. So it was all coincidence. It was all just chance.
And the MBE?
Again, didn't know anything about it. I was working with the Department for Transport, again, to try and encourage more young people into the industry. Not just women, looking at social diversity. As you know, cost is usually the biggest barrier to getting into the industry. So trying to work with them to find ways to take that barrier away. So working with the Department for Transport as an aviation ambassador, and I was nominated for an MBE. So it was just, again, one of those things, right place, right time, I suppose.
You're kind of giving the impression that all these things happen to you by accident and just kind of, I'm sure there must be a huge amounts of hard work and focus and stuff like that from your side of the fence.
Well, yeah, one of the things I do say, if you want to become a pilot or actually anything within aviation, work hard, take the opportunities when they come, and you'll get where you want to be. I think say yes.
Okay, so maybe we can move away a little bit from your career, because I know an awful lot of the people watching this, and certainly a lot of the regular people, and all of us are general aviation pilots. So if we're going to go flying tomorrow, we'll get up, we'll check the weather, we'll get Sky Demon out, check the NOTAMs, go and pull the airplane out, jump in and go and have a cup of tea at the other end or something like that. Can you kind of, that's clearly different from a commercial operation like easyJet or any other commercial operation, really. Can you kind of just give us a quick talk through what a kind of typical day might be from the time you kind of report, as it were?
Well, I wouldn't say there's a typical day because, as you know, even in GA, every day is different depending on the weather or where you're going. But, we do still have a flight plan. Obviously, someone else checks the weather and NOTAMs for us and puts it all together, the flight planning team. But then they deliver us a flight plan, which we'll look through, same way that you guys do. Check the weather, check the NOTAMs. And we usually report to the aircraft about an hour before departure. So, again, part of that flight plan package is checking the aircraft over, checking for any, making sure the daily check's been done, that kind of thing. And then we'll decide who's going to fly which sector. So, if I'm flying with the first officer and they would like to fly to Valencia and I'll fly back, we take it in turns. So once we've made those decisions, we chat to our cabin crew, find anything out about their day, any defects in the cabin, any special passengers that we need to give them extra assistance or anything like that. And then, one of us will go and do the walk around. One of us will prepare the aircraft for departure, putting all the information into the computers, and then bring passengers on board, start the engines, push back, off we go.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, just like that.
Okay. So what are your favorite destinations, or and if you're brave enough, your least favorite? Probably best not to say your least favorite destinations, but feel free if you want to.
No, they're all good for different reasons. I like going to places like Nice or Split or Dubrovnik because they're just pretty, very, very nice to go and see. It would be nice if we could stay, but we have to turn around and come back again. So there's some very beautiful places to fly to across Europe, and so Nice, Split, Dubrovnik are my favourites.
And can you look back and go, that was a favorite, that was one of my favorite flights, everything was nailed, or would it be, okay, we got some curveballs through ATC and we managed to deal with them? Or how would you measure that?
I think I measure my day by who I'm flying with and you remember the good days because of the good crew. So it doesn't matter if it's bad weather or tricky approach. If you've got a good crew with you, it's a good day.
Okay, that's not a bad question, and not a bad answer, I should say. And again, jumping around a little bit. So you're obviously you're there. You're working in pilot development. You're captain, very accomplished. Is it difficult to remember back from the days of kind of like your CTC and your type rating days to then sort of daily flying the line out, as it were? Is that a massive jump? Was there or was it seamless?
Oh no, the learning curve is huge. I remember sort of going from single engine aircraft, and you feel a big jump going up to the twin engine, and then you're in the simulator and you feel like that's another big jump. But I think going from the simulator to flying the line, the live operation with passengers and everything, you just can't replicate that in the sim when you've got, air traffic control, lots of other aircraft, minimum runway occupancy time. There's a lot more pressure in the real sort of environment, which you can't really replicate in the sim. You've got an aircraft at 3 miles and you've got to sort of start your takeoff roll. So yeah, that kind of thing you can't really replicate.
And so that I guess you can't. That's just an experience thing.
I think the more you do it, the more you get used to it, and it's just hence why you have a trainer with you for your first sort of 50 or so flights whilst you're learning.
And do you ever hanker over the simple days of the single engine flying around New Zealand for fun? Well, it wasn't for fun for you. It was clearly training. But
I do miss it. I think one day I would like to get back into GA. I used to go down to Goodwood quite a lot, and I was the aviation ambassador for the Aero Club there for a few years. And I think the last time I was in a single engine aircraft was this time. It'd be last summer. Yeah, so about 6 months ago. When my husband had a trial lesson and I was sitting in the back. I was quite keen to get back in the front at some point.
Do you think did he feel the pressure?
I don't think so. He's not one for feeling the pressure at all. No, he's quite relaxed. So.
That's good. That's good. Last question for me, unless I can think. What I know there's a bunch of people watching who are kind of considering a career, and obviously you've spoken at our events, and hopefully you'll speak again at our events in future. These are the events that we run for people who are considering a career in commercial aviation. You must get asked this an awful lot. What advice would you give people who are kind of you back at school, as it were?
I think. Work hard. When you're thinking about subjects to study at school, don't study the subjects that you think you need, because really it doesn't matter if you study maths or physics. All of the things you need to know you'll do in your ATPL exams. Study the things that you enjoy, because school's a long time if you don't enjoy the lessons that you're doing. So study the things you enjoy, give it your everything. Don't just do school, do things outside of school, volunteer in the community, join a sports team, all that kind of stuff, so that in your interview you've got something else to talk about other than your school. Just work hard. Surround yourself with people who support you and lift you up, because I think it's really, it's a tough old time. And as I said, my mum and dad supported me so much during my training. You need that. Just enjoy it.
Excellent. I haven't managed to be monitoring the comments because I've been looking at
there's a couple of very specific questions. There's a chap here who says, I've chosen the CPL route, about to start an APS MCC. I'd love to fly for easyJet, but you only seem interested in MPL pilots.
So we have an MPL program. We're looking to employ 1,000 pilots over the next 5 years through the MPL. So that's 200 pilots a year. But that's not to say that will completely fill our requirements. This year, for example, we're recruiting 400 new pilots. So we've only got 200 MPL, so the other 200 need to come from somewhere. And we have recruited a lot of whitetail pilots this year. So it's not to say that just because you haven't done an MPL, easyJet will never take you. That's not the case at all. We do recruit whitetail pilots as well.
Sorry, Ed, I cut into you there.
That's all right. I was going to say someone asked, and I need to find it now. Someone said, "Kate, was your dad a pilot?"
No, he wasn't. My dad was an optician, and he gave me the advice that I could do anything I wanted to do apart from what he did, because he didn't want me to just follow in his footsteps because it was the easy option. He wanted me to do what I was passionate about. So all four of us, I've got three sisters, none of us do the same thing. One of them is actually an optician because she enjoys it, not because she fell into it. And one of them's an artist, one of them's a linguist, and I'm a pilot. So all very different, but all very passionate about what we do. And I think that's because Dad encouraged us so much to do what we are passionate about.
Very good. William Cox asks, what qualifications do you need to apply for the CAE easyJet course?
That's a great question, William. So you need 5 GCSEs, including maths, science and English, grade C or above. I don't know what number that is now. It's like a grade 5. You need to be above 5'2", and there are a few other requirements. But yeah, in terms of qualification, it's just the 5 GCSEs, grades C and above.
Cool. Darren Loonton asks, what do you know what the male to female ratio is at easyJet?
I do. So the world ratio is 5.8% worldwide. Pilots are female, and easyJet's currently at 6.2. So it's slightly above the world average, but not as high as it should be. I dream of the day when it's 50-50, but I think it's a long way away.
What do you think holds women back from becoming pilots?
Well, I mean, if you look back to war times, it was probably 50-50 there, and there was a lot of female pilots. But in more recent history, there just hasn't been the role models. And actually, if you speak to people and they say, you talk about your pilot, they will probably say, oh, was he good? How was his landing? It's just ingrained in people. If you ask a 4-year-old to draw a picture of a pilot, they're most likely to draw a man. They've done research on it. It's ingrained in society. So I challenge all of you, when you're talking about a pilot, the pilot, the captain, try to not use he, because it's incredible how many people just assume it's he.
You can verify this or otherwise. My understanding has always been that the country in the world with the highest proportion of female pilots was actually India.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Wow.
Very good. Interesting question there. Pilots will eventually be replaced by robots. Have you got any opinion and advice on those based on fact?
I, again, ask people who are about to go on a flight, would you get on this plane if there wasn't a pilot? And I think most people would say no. I mean, would you get on a plane if there wasn't a pilot there?
My aeroplane probably flies better if I don't get in it. Just roll over and let it go.
Yeah, I think, just my personal opinion, I don't think that people will, in the near future anyway, certainly during my career, I don't think they'll get on a plane without a pilot. So.
I think
from Lawton, are you still flying operationally?
Yes, it's my New Year's resolution to fly once a week. So I do try and get out there once a week. I'd like to say that I pick the flights depending on if the weather's nice, but I flew a couple of weeks ago and it was very windy. I thought, why have I chosen to fly today? But it was a nice challenge. So
okay. Question from Seth, who was very patiently waiting earlier. Hello, I'm interested in flying for easyJet in the future, currently in school. BALPA currently don't recommend new cadets to go MPL programs as they don't offer security. What's your view?
I'd say MPL is the best way to go. Obviously, I know that during the pandemic, I think BALPA's advice on this came out during COVID, and understandably, nobody knew what was going to happen to the aviation industry, and it was a very turbulent time. But everybody who started an MPL program with us who has finished it has now joined the airline. So I think nothing in life is ever secure, but I think the MPL program has proven to be a very good program. Everybody who started it has finished it and joined us, and we've now got currently 150 pilots in that program as well. So I think it's definitely a great route. And to speak, other airlines have recently started up NPL programs as well. So it certainly looks like the future.
I'm gonna jump in a little bit there and say, we as a company, we've been running events for people who want to become commercial pilots for over 20 years now. And the thing that we emphasize at the beginning of every single event for everyone who attends is do your research thoroughly, research it properly. And there's a huge amount of choices, a huge amount of routes. Not every route, there isn't one route that suits every single person. There's lots of different ways of doing it. Just make sure you do your research thoroughly. I mean, BALPA do give some good information, but BALPA, just like everybody else, is coming from a certain position, and you need to understand what all those positions are as you do the research and figure out how it applies to you. It's a complex decision, and it's made more complex by your own personal situation. So just make sure, come to one of our shows. I'm not saying that just because I'm trying to persuade you to come to one of our shows, but come to one of our shows as part of your research. Talk to the experts there, talk to people like Kate and other people, and just step back, think about it, and plan it as if you were a future pilot. Make it as if, plan some contingencies, think about what you're going to do, etc., etc. Would be my general advice.
And the more general question says, which aircraft, past or present, would you most like to fly?
Oh, that's a good question. So my aunt flew a Spitfire a few months ago down at Goodwood, and I went to watch, and it was incredible. I think it would be quite iconic to fly the Spitfire. However, after that flight, my husband said, well, I think we should go and fly a Hurricane because it's sort of the lesser known and it's might be more exciting. So
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe you should fly both and compare and contrast.
Yeah.
Have you are you kind of fully? I mean, I guess as you went, you're kind of fully Airbus.
Yes. So easyJet are all Airbus. A319, 2021. So apart from my my jet conversion course on the 737, I've only ever flown Airbus.
And that was quite obviously your Airbus experience now way exceeds your Boeing experience back then.
Oh yes, it was just a very short conversion course, so maybe 50 hours on the simulator, and I think about now 7,000 hours on the Airbus. So.
And can you ever see yourself flying a Boeing?
Hey, well, who knows? We might be flying electric aircraft in a few years, so who knows what the future holds.
Did you see the Boeing NASA announcement yesterday with some very strange looking aircraft that they're planning?
Impressive. The future is just incredible. Where we might go. Lots of great ideas and interesting, exciting time to join aviation. Actually, to see what the future does hold.
Yeah,
absolutely.
One interesting little question there. What's been the most challenging aspect of training? How have you overcome it?
Everybody's journey will be different. I do remember a conversation with my mum just before the end of my CPL training, and I just said, I can't do this. It's just too hard. And, I must have just had a bad flight, but everybody has a bump in the road somewhere. And I think the most challenging bit is just getting over that and keep moving forward. So as I say, I think the way to get over that is surrounding yourself with positivity, because there's always a way to overcome any challenge.
Brilliant. Well, that's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much for coming along. Well, thank you very much.
Oh, that's so kind. Thank you.
Sprint says, what a great idea. It shows what can be done with determination and hard work.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Excellent.
Oh, thanks, Kate.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Look forward to talking to you in the near future about NPLs and stuff like that. We'll be hopefully doing a piece on that. So thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you back in GA. Seems ages since I got. Yeah, well, it was
2016. Yeah, 7 years ago.
21, wasn't it? No, it was 16.
2016, yeah.
16, you're right. Yeah, my mistake. Oops. Great. Where's that gone? Sorry. Thank you very much. It must be time for.
Thanks, Kate.
Bye.
Thank you.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
What a great ambassador for airline pilots in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. Ed.
Fancy hanger. So earlier we heard that the Red Arrows have got themselves a new commanding officer, which had us musing when we planned for the live stream. It had us musing about UK teams that had come before the Red Arrows. And before long, we were thinking, so why don't we go back into history and pick a display team from the past to put in our fancy hangers? So who's first?
Dave.
Oh, right. Well, I reckon I've got this covered. I've chosen Simon's Circus. That's circus beginning with an S, by the way. It's a fleet of sometimes 5, sometimes 6 Sea Vixens flown by the Fleet Air Arm, what the military calls naval aviators. It's named after Lieutenant Commander Simon Idens. Just to Americans watching, this is the correct way to say lieutenant. Okay, active only for 1 year, 1968, until the Navy ran out of fuel. That's a joke. They were based at Nobleton and displayed at numerous RAF air shows and Royal Navy air shows, air days during the 1968 season, culminating in the Farnborough Air Show in September in those days. They were highly acclaimed by whoever saw them, due in no small part, apparently, to the fact that the Sea Vixens used were over 5 times heavier than the Folland Gnats used by the Red Arrows at the time. Bit of a sad ending. Lieutenant Commander Simon Idens later died in an ejection from a Phantom in 1972 off the coast of Cornwall when the parachute malfunctioned, apparently. So my choice, Simon's Circus.
Simon Circus with an S.
Yep.
Okay, well, I'm up next, and to be honest, I've got no expectation of winning tonight. I don't know why, but everybody knows that the best aerobatic team in the world is the Freckie Tricolore. It just is. It just is. And back in the 60s, they displayed using a team of F-86 Sabres, and I have to say, I reckon if I could bring an aerobatic team back, it'd be the Freckie and the Sabres. I reckon that would be a show to see, and something that I would certainly like to see. So,
yeah,
there you go.
That looks. We were talking about this on Livestream Extra yesterday, and at that time we'd only found a photo of the Freckie flying Sabres in what looked like bring your kids to work day and let them paint the aeroplanes. But that looks really good.
They look.
Yeah,
they're smart. They're really smart.
Yeah,
they do look smart. There, I mean, look. Just imagine that. That would just be awesome.
It looks like they've only got one pilot for all the aeroplanes, but
well,
they'll work that out.
Yeah, but you just know the whole display would be stylish. After it would just. There you go. That's my.
Aaron Lewington said they parked in the wrong order. I believe the Italian response to your question, your thing there, Darren, would be just a shrug of the shoulders and.
Yeah.
That's actually probably his phone number or something. The pilot stood by
that. It probably is. It probably is indeed. I think the next person is on my list. The next person is Ed.
Okay, so while I was researching, I came across the photo that Ian is currently looking at with some slight surprise. Sorry?
3 different photos from you, Ed.
Yeah, but if you pick the first one in the stack, Ian.
Yeah.
With the Hercules, it's like, who knew there was a display team in America? These were the Horsemen. And they flew 4 Hercules. Now, I didn't pick these because this was clearly going to be the world's most, apart from being quite impressive with being Hercules, it would be really dull because they're so slow and so big. But who knew the Hercules display team? But I picked the Blue Angels, but not the jet team I went for the Blue Angels when they were flying Grumman Bearcats. So in the late 40s, the team operated 4 of them. They previously started with the Hellcat, upgraded to the Bearcat because it's a real good aeroplane for aerobatics, and it was a good choice for the team. And they flew them up until the 50s when they were disbanded because the Korean War meant the aircraft were pressed into operational service. And I figured nowadays, if I could have 4 shiny blue Bearcats parked in my fancy hangar, that would make me smile every time. Aside from the fact that it's a 2,250 horsepower, 400 knot warbird with 4,500 feet per minute climb rate. That should be a lot of fun.
In comments designed not to make me at all popular, the Bearcat.
This is going to be where you say something daft like a super constellation isn't lovely.
No, well, the Bearcat, it's not a looker, is it?
No.
It's
Stubby is what you said. Comes to mind.
Yeah,
it is.
It's not.
It has presence.
No Italian designer would look at that and sign it off the drawing board, would they?
Neither would an English designer either.
I think
Stelio Frati would look at it and Anyway, right,
yeah.
Johnny.
Yep. So back to 1963 for mine, and it's a team that existed for I think only 1 year, called the Firebirds, and they flew 9 English Electric Lightnings. Look at that. So that's a total of 18 Rolls-Royce Avon engines screaming away. They were from 56 Squadron, and all the obviously the Firebird's name is from the 56 Squadron crest, which is some kind of phoenix-looking thing emerging from some flames. But yeah, really, I think that would be an amazing thing to see, amazing thing to hear.
Were they called the Firebird because lightnings had a habit of catching fire?
Possibly.
and lightnings, Johnny, all very well, but don't they need something like 40 hours maintenance for every flight hour? So having that many lightnings would be 720 maintenance hours.
Well, which is eclipsed only by the amount of fuel that they would have taken. They probably ran the whole RA.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that tradition of going, bring your display team in, give us a display, we'll fill you up. Oh my god.
Yeah.
And the RAF would have gone, oh yes, please.
And that must have been second only. Linda Griffith said, I saw the Thunderbirds at Mildenhall in 1970s flying F4 Phantoms. And that must have been, Darren Lewington said, Johnny's Firebird display lasted 2 minutes.
Okay, so who have we got in the comments for a winner then?
Well, I was doing quite well until Johnny joined the chat. So there was quite a bit of Ed wins. Nigel Hitchman came up with a good suggestion that I didn't think of, but obviously the Breitling Fighters, it was mostly provided by, or probably all provided by, Old Flying Machine Company, wasn't it? And they had a whole bunch of warbirds, and that was very impressive.
Let me just remind people: 5 or 6 Sea Vixens.
No, we've already forgotten that, Dave. Because Simon couldn't spell. Pete Jeffco said, "How about the Tiger Moth Diamond 9s? Slower only than the Herculeses I suggested earlier." Martin Lucy said, "The Blue Angels Hercules is impressive too." Claire B's jumped in with a technicality. Pete Jeffco, that's still a current team. Yeah. Bearcat, not a looker, but have you seen one flown in anger? And then it starts. Johnny wins. Johnny wins.
Yep,
Johnny wins.
Oh,
Well,
no.
David Milner. I say again, Dave wins.
Yes.
2 votes for Dave if he says it twice.
Is there not one single Ian wins in that? Do we not have any?
Oh no, there was an Ian. Yeah.
There was an Ian wins.
Nick Allen.
There you go. Ricardo's obviously not watching, is he, tonight?
Captain Salmon wins. Johnny wins by Mach 1. Johnny wins.
Oh.
Hayden Thompson suggests 1 display a year.
Yeah.
Johnny wins. Ian wins. There's a lot of Johnny Salmon winning.
Yep.
Chris Winch says the Treble 1 Squadron Hunters. Yeah. Famous for the biggest formation loop, I think. That's Salmon has climbed the ladder and won this week. Not hindered by his enormous collar on his jacket.
Yeah.
Tally ho, Johnny.
I have to say, I think Johnny deserves to win that one.
Yeah.
Norman's Wingwalkers. Okay.
Sorry.
There we go. Paul Wheel reminds us the German Navy F-104 Vikings got a red card at Alconbury for flying at Mach 1. That will get you in trouble.
I bet you it was quite fun though, wasn't it?
Oh,
Yeah. Yes.
It was kind of surprising for the Germans, but there you go.
Yeah.
Right, who we know after this week's webinar are very law-abiding people. Dave, have we got any events coming up?
Yep, very, very quickly. We've got this Sunday, 22nd of January, there's a Gasco safety evening. It's a late announcement, this. Scottish Aero Club at Perth Airport. Coming up in February, 4th to 5th of February, there's a Shuttleworth Engineering Open Workshop. And on the 8th of February, there's an RT, radio telephony workshop, being held by Astral Consulting. That's an online-only thing. There's links to all this on the Flyer website.
You don't need to borrow with the Astral one in February. We've got our own RT masterclass with our very own Darren Lewington in February for club members. I don't mean that, Astral. You're good chaps as well. But, but ours will be better, basically. Cool. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Thank you for being great guests. We look forward to seeing you next Wednesday if you're a club member, next Thursday if you're not. If you're not, why not? Please do us all a favor, join the Flyer Club, click like on the thing. If you're watching this on Catch Up, comment in the thing. That all helps us with that famous YouTube algorithm-y type thing. But hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and join the club. And thank you, team. And we'll see you all next week.
Fly safe. Enjoy that weather.
Cheers.
Yeah, have a good flying weekend.